Welcome to Self-Discovery Media Network, formerly known as Self-Discovery Radio. Each week we bring you illuminating shows from those making a difference in the lives of others. They've taken their own journey. They're here to share their skills, their wisdom to help you on yours. You can see more about us at selfdiscoverymedia.com, and please listen to our wonderful collection of shows. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Building Your Business here on Self-Discovery Media with me, Sara Troy, and my guest today, Elaine Jacques. Wow, have we got something here for you today? We're going to be covering a great deal information. And I hope that you are ready for it, because this information is something for people who are wanting to build a business no matter the age, no matter what passion it is, that dream you've always had that you thought you never could do because everybody told you had to have a BBA, an MBA, a DDA, and all of that. You just need to have some passion, some heart, and some common sense and some skills, and you can make it happen. And Elaine is the person to help you do that, because that is her passion in mentoring people, young people, older people, it doesn't matter. With her years of 20 years, over 20 years, she doesn't look it, believe me, she must have started in diapers, as an international coach, a federation certified coach with 20 years professional experience. She's here to help you get started and leave a legacy. And you know, when it comes down to it in the end, folks, we all like to know that we leave something behind. You know, they say leave it better than where you found it. We like to leave something behind, but know that somebody else is going to benefit from it. So if we start something that is going to benefit the lives of the people here now and leaves that legacy where that continues on, then I consider that a life well lived. So we all need to find something, whatever it is in our lives, that means something to us, that we can step out to in strength and courage and passion and conviction and make it happen. And the old paradigm of setting up businesses is not the same as it used to be. So let's dive into the passion of Elaine and take her journey, unravel her, and see what we can get out of her as tidbits to help us move forward. Welcome to the show, my love.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Wow, I don't think I could have asked for a better introduction than that. I'm going to just say, okay, I'm good for life. This is the introduction I always want. Thank you so much. I am so honored to be on your show.
It's a delight to have you here. And, you know, I was introduced to you by David Carver, who I was on his show, he was on my show. But one of the things I really admired about you is the fact that you really get behind people. And I know you're behind a few podcasters and really promoting them, but you really have that enthusiasm. It's not just a job. It's not just this. You really want to see people connect and magic happen. And that seems to be something that really resonates from you.
Absolutely. I love that. It's something that every call that I have, I say, how can I support you? Who can I connect you to? Who are your ideal connections? And it has been so much fun for me to have connections from all over the world, and just to make connections that I like to think wouldn't have happened without me.
Yes.
And it is so much fun.
You're a very important ingredient in this pie.
Thank you very much. Yes, no, it's definitely something that brings me a lot of joy.
Well, you know, you help people ignite, you know, that passion and joy in something they do. But if you're not coming from a place of joy, if you're not enjoying what you're doing, how can you help other people find that?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, your internal, you know, coming from my medical background, I talk a lot about neurochemistry. Your internal neurochemistry is so important on how you can take things that maybe are just floating out in space and bring it in and make it solid for you. And I love helping people be able to grasp hold of those things. You know, I call them like little clouds that are floating in the air, and bringing them down and making them a real thing for people. That, to me, to be able to see someone go on in their life and do something bigger and better and faster and easier is something that I think, why wouldn't everyone on the planet want to do this?
Yeah, exactly. And of course, you know, my generation was brought up, oh, you don't be a dreamer. You know, be sensible, you know, get a job that's going to give you the gold watch, you know, picket fence, 2.2 kids and all of that type of thing. You know, don't rock the boat, don't reinvent the wheel, and all of these things, a whole load of don'ts. And, you know, really what we're saying today, creativity comes from those that are willing to dream and then act upon that dream.
Yes.
And we need the dreamers, and we need those that are going to grab those clouds and say, no, I'm going to sculpture this into something that's going to be meaningful. And it doesn't matter if I, you know, I don't have the degree, or if I, you know, if it is taking a risk. Because when you
Mhm.
think about it, getting up in the morning is taking a risk in itself.
Oh, exactly. As I can fully attest to from my work in the hospital, you know, I just got up and I fell out of bed and I broke my hip. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
One must be careful every step of the way.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that we're not promised tomorrow. So, you know, the thing is to seize the day, carpe diem.
Yeah.
And why put things off, right? If,
Yes.
you know, if you've got something within you, like, no, you don't know how to make it happen, but that's where you come in.
Yes.
You know, and that's the thing. The most important thing is have a passion for something.
Yeah. Yeah, have something that you want to reach out for. And I like to say, you know, do you want in a year from now to be just 365 days older and still
Mm,
wishing for the same thing? Or do you want to today, even though it might be scary, even though it just seems frightening, to just begin, to start, to take one little step, which is why I have the U+1% of just, you know, we don't have to take a big leap. It doesn't have to go from I'm here on my couch to on top of Mount Everest. You know, I can take a couple of steps. The altitude sickness would be a little abrupt if you did the other, but just to say, let's figure out how we can get to, you know, the beginning of 2020 and have someone say, I at least took one more step towards my dream. I at least am moving one more step forward. I'm not just older. I am
right.
now older and I have moved forward. And I see a lot on the medical side of a lot of regrets from
Mm,
people, and that's something that I so desperately don't want people to have. I want them to see that if nothing else, I tried, I moved forward, I reached for the cloud. You know, even if you're not going to be able to bring it down to you, at least you tried. And I like the concept of, you know, the soul once stretched never
mm,
returns back to its
mhm.
original shape. And I think that's beautiful. And every time you stretch yourself, then you can do something more that you didn't think was possible before. And that to me is just something magical and something beautiful. And that's what I want for everyone. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I can see beautiful, amazing, bigger things for you. And I want you to achieve that. And that's why I think I qualify myself on my LinkedIn profile at least is your biggest cheerleader, your accountability partner, and your tough love provider. Because if I can see it and I
Mm,
can see how you can get to it, I'm definitely going to encourage you to get
yes.
there.
I love that terminology of stretching your soul, you know, because, you know, I'm a soul heart igniter.
Mhm.
You know, it's igniting you into your spirit of action and letting your mind know what it needs to know when it needs to know it, not getting in your own way by the dogma intellect, but allowing the intuitive intelligence of the heart or the soul speak to you,
Yes,
because it will never lie and it will always guide you right. But, you know,
yes,
stretching that soul, you know, it never goes back. No,
yes.
no spandex there for sure. But, you know, you talk about you having worked in hospital, and there's so many people I've interviewed that have come from deadly illnesses, or, you know,
Mhm.
diseases that they now have. Or I've recently had a wonderful Kesha burn victim who's on America's Got Talent, and she's a burn victim, and clearly, obviously, a burn victim. She's not something she can hide, but
Yeah.
music was what saved her. And, you know, she found that courage and that strength to stand up on that audience facing millions of people and say, this is who I am. I'm going to share my passion of life, my gift of life to you. And so it doesn't really matter where we're at in our lives.
Mhm.
It's a question of, if you do have an illness, then don't waste any more time. If somebody is giving you a death sentence, which I disagree with, I think it's time, you know, maybe get on with things, but don't give people a time limit.
Mhm.
And just go and do something. You don't know until you try. You don't know how
Yeah.
strong you are, how courageous you are, how talented you are, until you're willing to say, you know, I'm going to get up and give it a try.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think one of my favorite visuals to share with people is I've seen a couple of versions of it, but the little kitten looking into the mirror, and what's looking back at the kitten is the lion. And
Yes.
I've seen another one recently where the little kitten is looking into, I think it's a pond or something, and the reflection that's coming back is the lion. And I love that because, you know, we can approach things from a point of, oh, I can't do that, I'm too small, I'm too this, I'm too that. And to be able to have yourself and someone else reflect back to you, no, this is what I see. I see that you can do this. And sometimes that's all we need, is for someone to believe in us and to say, you can do this.
Yeah.
You can.
You're not always going to get it from your closest friends or loved ones,
Mm-hmm.
because they see you in a particular way, and they also see you in the way that they need you. Right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if they need you to be something, they're actually more afraid of you stretching those wings and reaching out, because you might change and you might not
Oh,
need them anymore.
yes.
Right? Or you might not be
Yes.
there for them. So I think it's better to go with people you don't know or are not so closely attached, because they're more honestly going to see the cans and the can'ts in you. You know, what can be triggered, what can be stretched. As opposed to others that are maybe fearful for you, or don't take that risk, or have another agenda. And then once you've reached a certain place, you can go, this is my journey, celebrate it with me, come with me, you know, but no one's stopping me. So I think initially it's always good to go for somebody you don't know.
Yes. Yes, I would absolutely agree with that. It's been an interesting journey for me, you know, having a dual career, and the number of people in my life who that doesn't fit for them.
Mm-hmm.
And just saying, this is something that brings me so much joy, and I have to follow this. You know, I feel like it's a detriment to my soul if I
Mm-hmm.
don't do this, because I can just see so many people that I feel like I can help to have more amazing lives, just with a little bit of support and a little bit of,
Yes.
you can do this, you can fly, and I'll be here to support you while you do that. So
And ultimately, that's what we want, isn't it? You know, it's not just a question you're the cheerleader, and, you know, and somebody said, well, I can cheer my friend on. But no, you've got constructed, you know,
yes.
not criticism, but constructed cheerleading.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's, you know, maybe not take your leg up around the head because you might get stuck. You know, maybe just a kick out the front might be good enough, you know. Uh, so it's cheering people on in believing that they can, but with the right skills and tools, so
Yes.
they don't let themselves down. Because we can all cheer someone down, but if we're not giving, you know, structure
Mm-hmm.
and building blocks and skills to them, then they're going to fall flat on their face.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's, what you said is very important. You know, there's the inherent danger of, oh, I'm always just reaching for the clouds, but I don't ever actually grab hold of anything and bring it
Right.
down where I can put it into action. And that's one of the things that I'm very, very specific about with all of my clients, is we can talk about whatever we want during your hour. When we get to the bottom of the hour, I'm going to say, okay, what's your action step? You choose. And you decide what it is that you're going to do between now and next time, and you're being accountable to yourself and to me
Yeah.
about what it is that you're going to do. But we will take an action step. Otherwise, we're just always reaching and
Yeah.
staring at the sky,
Yeah.
which is lovely and the view is wonderful. But until we bring it down, we
Yeah.
still have that looming of 2020 is coming. And are you just going to be older, or are you going to have moved forward and stretched your soul and
Yeah.
become the person that you want to become? So it's definitely taking it out of here and
Yes.
putting it on the ground
Yeah.
is super
But
important.
it's also kind of, I think, igniting the heart and the mind together.
Yes,
This is my passion of my why and what I want to
yes,
achieve, but my mind's intellect of the knowledge that I have and the knowledge I'm receiving will help me achieve that. So it's not
absolutely.
stepping in one over the other. It's forming that partnership, isn't it?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Aligning all of it. So what you say you want is what
Mm.
your actions back up.
Mm.
You know, sometimes I will challenge some of my clients to say, you know, you say you want this, but your actions are doing this. Is there a way that we can bring those together?
Yeah.
Because I think that will be a lot less confusing for you, and, you know, sidelight for me. That's saying I'm sitting over here and I don't know what we're talking about anymore because we're doing two separate things.
Yeah.
And I think it's so important to align your soul, to align your mind, to
Mm.
align your heart, and then to put action to all of those. And having, I think the visual that's popping into mind right at the moment is having that that my train, all my cars are on the same track, that I'm not going in 5 different directions. Everything is
Yes.
all together. And how much more powerful can you be when everything is lined up and moving in the same direction?
Yes, I've in building here Self-Discovery Media, which has just recently been branded from Self-Discovery Radio. I have branched off into many different areas to see, if there's a synergy, if there's an alignment, if there's this, if there's that, and it's kind of been okay for a moment, and then not have the sustainability. But then if you don't try, you don't know. Right. But the thing is, as you say, keep on the tracks. This is, I've had people say, why don't you do, big advertising? And I said, because I have a philosophy here. And the philosophy is the core, is the soul of
Yes.
what this is about. And I think that's really important when you're setting off in something. Stick to one advisor, because
Mm.
you can stay on track. If you get so many other voices, which is wonderful, I really appreciate many voices, because then you lay it all out. This is very valid, that's very valid, but what's valid to my track? What's
Yes.
valid to my direction, my cloud, my dream? And
Yes.
what can I use in the now that can take
Yes.
me forth to the next step? So there's a lot of kind of listening, deducing, but I think you're also going back again to the gut, the heart, the soul, and say,
Mm.
what resonates in truth here? Because the head will have you spinning around, won't it?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Yes, but what if, but that, but this. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
Suddenly you're doing the
Exactly.
exorcist and the head is spinning around.
Yes. And it's not a good thing. It's not a
No,
good thing at all.
no, not. Scares people away.
Yes. It's very important to pick a direction and go in that direction. Otherwise, you're
Yes.
just going around in circles.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that's very beautifully stated. Um, just to line yourself up and the things that you can do, thinking about, if you walk 2 steps in each direction in a circle, well, where are you? Yes, you've covered a lot of ground,
Oh, yeah.
but you're still kind of in the same place that you were, and you've established kind of
Yes.
where you're at, but now let's move on from there. Let's
You're right.
take that foundation and move on. So I think
Yeah.
that's
So it has to be conducive to your journey.
mm,
I'm always referring to is finding, our meaningful purpose in life, because that is what we're here for. And I refer to it as our instrument. And once
mm,
we found that meaningful purpose in our instrument, is up to us and how we learn to play it. And then
mm,
we bring it to the orchestra of life. In our many orchestras, and you find your orchestra that plays your music. And in alignment with that orchestra, you create music that resonates so beautifully out to people, it invites them to pick up their own instrument. But we are responsible for that instrument, aren't we? And sometimes we may pick up a few instruments. And yes, you can play that very well. You can play this very well. But oh my God, this is where the heart and soul is. And that's when
yes,
you know you really found that purpose. So it's
yes,
okay to discover and
mm,
dabble and try
mm,
things, right? But don't immerse all the life savings in it,
yes.
right? Until you know exactly which is your instrument.
Yes. Oh yeah. And I love that. I've heard you touch on that before, that instrument and orchestra thing, and that just resonates so beautifully with my soul, because as someone who has tried several different things,
Mhm.
coaching is my 4th career, and I will tell you, I've taken a little bit of flack. I'm 45 years old and 4th career, and what does that mean? And all of that. And I think that what has happened before on my journey has definitely brought me to where I am today, and
Precisely.
and creates for me a sense of being able to help people better
Mm.
by my knowledge base. And so while some people view it as, oh, you've done this and you've done that and you've done this other thing, for me, being able to draw from all of that gives me a very different perspective to add to people's journey. And I struggled with that initially, of course,
Mhm.
thinking, oh, am I throwing away my master's degree in speech pathology? That was kind of expensive. And and to be able to say, no, I can actually draw on that because of my knowledge
Yes.
of neuroscience, and because
Yes.
of my perspective of, don't wait. until a certain age. Don't put that off. Go ahead and start making steps, even if they're small ones. Go ahead now, because of what you mentioned earlier. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow. And I see that every time I work in the hospital. And it's something that really adds to the perspective for me personally, and also for my clients, is to say, let's go ahead and take a step today.
Yeah.
Because, if you're facing that last moment and your life flashes before your eyes, don't you want to at least know you took a step towards your passion, and something that made your soul start to glimmer and then glow and then come into a roaring fire is, of course, the big goal. You want to get to that stage where you say, this is my instrument. This is the thing that just lights me up and adds my beautiful, wonderful tone to the world.
Yes.
And thereby makes the world a better place, which I think is all of our really big goals.
Yes, it is. I don't see too far afield from what you're doing as a speech pathologist. You're helping people find their speech in a different way, right? It's just all you've done is transfer those skills into people finding a voice, because isn't it in our self-discovery of our meaningful purpose, our instrument, our passion of what we want to do is finding our voice? Don't we first have to articulate what it is we want? And so whether you're teaching people the art of speech or discovering what to speak about, I think that it's all part and parcel of it. You're just branching off in a slightly different area.
Yes, I'm exploring a new branch.
Exactly. Well, okay. All right. I'm going to go back to another analogy, the willow tree, one of my favorite trees, ones I consider that I am. I consider myself very firm rooted in my wise old years of 64. I've got a very thick trunk, and I've got really strong branches, but my branches are extremely flexible and are constantly going in the wind, whichever way the wind goes, but it never takes me off the rails. It never removes me from that core. And I think that is, again, something. We have many branches in our lives, like we have many chapters in our lives, and we don't just dismiss the other branches because another branch grows. It just becomes another extension of us, right? And this is something, is to allowing ourselves to branch out into exploring something else about ourselves. When I started this, I was 57 when I started this. It's my 7th anniversary this week of hosting. My first show was all the wrong buttons. Everything went wrong, and it was live. And it's like the producers, do you want to continue with this? And it can only get better. No, it got worse. Retrograde comes along, guests disappear, I disappear, everything drops. It's just one of those learning curves. And if you're doing anything with the internet, you're not master of the internet. Your content, but not what the internet does with it. But I never knew I had this ability. I never knew I could edit or produce or do any of this stuff until it was in front of me. Okay, what are you going to do? You got to do it now, right? And in that discovery of what I could do, go, hey, I could do that. I never thought I could, right? And that's the thing. We don't know until we're willing to take those steps exactly what we're capable of. But the first thing we've got to do is just dive in. Well, let's give it a try.
Yes, absolutely. I just have to tell you, I love, one of the things that I just so appreciate you is I love your ability to create just an amazing visual imagery in my mind, and impart such a powerful concept. And for me, of course, I'm a very visual person, so it's incredibly powerful to my brain when you describe the tree and the roots and the trunk and everything, that I can see all of that and I can touch it in my mind, and just to see the branches swaying in the wind and knowing that's fine, because the trunk is the core, and that's where your solid foundation comes from, and that you can explore and try new things. All of that was just incredibly beautiful. And I want to say congratulations on 7 years. That's fantastic. And also, I love the concept of, there's a quote, and I'm not going to be able to remember who said it right at the moment, but it says, all glory is daring to begin. And just that concept of, if I don't try, I won't know. And yes, it's super scary to try, but it can only get better from here. And the thing that popped up for me since you were talking about trees was how they say the best time to have planted a tree was 25 years ago or today, that you can't go back in time and plant it 25 years ago. That would have been great, lovely. big tree all now, but the second best time is right now, and
Mm.
just to start and just to do it. And even if you get dirty while you do it, or you fall in the hole or anything like
Yes.
that, but that you tried it and you did it and you persevered, you didn't let the dirt on you get
Mm.
in the way of you growing the beautiful 7-year tree that you
Mm.
have right now, and all the things that you've been able to do with that.
Yes. And I never knew I could until I did. And that's the
Yeah.
thing. And even now, I'm still branching out. I've extended out the whole network, and I actually do call all my past shows, because there's the shows come up for the week, and then they go into the archive, and I call that the Orchard of Wisdom shows, ready for the
Mm.
clicking. And because we've got to understand, an orchard takes a very long time to grow in order
Yeah.
to bear its fruits. And the matrix of all those trees underneath are all communicating with one another.
Yes.
And when you are willing to plant your tree in a forest, or many trees, that, because now I've got many trees around me, we understand that communique is something that never dies. It continues
Yeah.
on, and it just, we build a community that is so beautiful, because we realize there's so many other beautiful people out there on their own self-discovery, on their own journey,
Yeah.
and that have had such incredible challenges. And you look
Mm.
at your own life and you go, well, if they could do that, surely I can find that strength within me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And to be able to recognize, I have a quote that just is demanding to be let out right now. Is empathy is being able to sense echoes of your own
Mm.
soul in somebody else. And I'm totally butchering the quote, but that's the essence of
Yeah,
it.
no, that's beautiful.
And I love that. And I love being able to connect with people from around the world,
Mm-hmm.
and discovering that, we spend a lot of time in our life building up walls, and
Yes.
the me versus them and those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things, and to discover that really underneath all the differences, we're really the same,
Mm-hmm.
and we have beautiful things about each and every one of us that may be different in amazing ways. And I really like that.
Yes.
That really is a good
Yeah.
thing for me.
If we look at different cultures, and really, I just, again, back to analogy, look at it as a buffet. It's
Mm.
just just a different dish at the table. And it
Yeah.
may not be your cup of tea, but that doesn't mean that dish is wrong, right?
Mm.
It just means
Yeah.
it's not your appetite. But however, if you look at the passion and the love that went into making that dish, you'll understand it was the same passion and conviction that you put into your dish. And when we
Yeah.
can respect that we're all looking for a purpose, we're all looking to love and be loved, we're all looking to count in this life, to be a part of a
Yes.
community, not to be alone, to know
Yes.
that, we're seen. We're all looking for that. And when you
Mm.
really look at the common denominator of war and discontent, it comes from insecurity, it comes from
Mm.
greed. And
Mm.
when we are willing to step up and take ownership of ourselves, and understand every single living being has an obstacle, has a problem, has something that they have to deal with in lives. And those that really end up being the true leaders in life are those that work through it and help others work through theirs. It's not about imposing your problem on somebody else, which is,
Yes.
when we get to wars and things like this, is, I'm, bang, bang, I'm going to shoot you dead. No, it doesn't
Mm.
solve anything, really.
No.
No,
No.
no.
Not
Creativity
anything.
does,
Yes.
passion does, love
Yes.
does,
Yes.
stepping into your
Yes.
innovation does,
Yes.
that's what really is the solution to life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Discovering how you, with you being your instrument and playing your
Yes.
instrument, can make our orchestra of the
Mm,
whole world a
mm,
better, more musically wonderful place, and how we can, take instruments that we didn't think could go together and make something that's even more amazing. I'm apparently just a font of quotes today, but one of my one of my other favorite quotes is to say, alone we're smart, but together we're brilliant.
oh yeah.
And I love that,
Yes.
because I
Yes.
think, for one of the things that I is very important for me to share with potential clients is to say, I don't see you as someone who's broken or incapable or there's something wrong with you. I see you as someone who's already been doing amazing things. I mean, look
Yes.
how far you've gotten in your life. Look what
Right.
you've already overcome. You're an amazing person already. So let's see what we can do to take you to an even more amazing place. And those words are very, very important for me to impart to my potential clients, to say, I don't want you to see me as approaching you as I'm going to fix you.
Yes.
There's nothing that needs to be fixed. Maybe we can polish, maybe
Yeah.
we can take a new step, maybe we can explore a new forest, but there's nothing wrong with where you have been and what
Hmm.
you've been doing. You desire something more, and so let's take you there. Let's
Right.
go there.
It's your
So,
unfinished business, right? Now it's
yeah,
permission to
yes,
go and do that, because again, how many people have I interviewed that have been six figures, big corporate, highly successful, utterly miserable,
yeah,
and what they loved as a child comes
mm,
nagging back at them, and then suddenly they walk away from their career,
yeah,
from everything, pour
yes,
themselves into that passion with the knowledge that they've had from corporate, and they may
mm,
not be making the six figures, but they feel a trillionaire because
oh,
of the
yeah,
passion and the love of what they're doing.
yes, yes. I've seen, like you, I've seen examples of people who I think just embody the phrase money doesn't buy happiness.
No.
They have every trapping of
Mm.
every success picture,
Yes.
and they're miserable, and their heart is empty, and their eyes are empty. And to talk to some of them and see that, just that little flicker when they talk about
Yeah.
something, and I say, let's talk more about that, and to
Yeah.
see it grow into
Yeah.
something more, is, to me, it's a miracle that happens in front of your eyes.
Yes. Well, we know that when people do get very rich or have very powerful positions, they now become a slave to it. They're a
Mm,
slave to the image. They're a slave to protecting their castle.
mm,
They're a slave to maintaining it. And how can they have any joy in anything? Because they're so paranoid in losing what they have. There's no joy to have. But then you've got somebody either who's given it up or never had all of that, but maybe have the most simplest things in life, the basic things in life, but are the happiest people in the world because they're doing what they
mm-hmm.
love, and they've honored
Yeah,
that heart and soul instead of that expectation
yes.
and that image that they feel they have to live up to.
Yes, yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And to kind of touch back what you mentioned earlier about the legacy is something that I work on with people. Um, that is my goal. If I come in with any sort of agenda or goal, that is my goal for them, is to take someone who's maybe later career and to say, yes, you've achieved success, whatever that looks like for you in your mind. You're pretty, solid on where you are with your career, but to say you want to do something more. Your heart wants to leave footprints for other people to follow,
Yes.
so that you're not just a name on a plaque on a wall somewhere of a big fancy building, that you've left something behind that says words into the future of ripples of who you were as a person and your character and your personality and what was valuable to you, and that you're leaving that behind as a roadmap for other people to follow. And that's one of the things that I find so incredible about working with people at that level, is because they are successful, but their heart is yearning for something bigger and more than that.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is an incredible thing to even just be able to be a bystander for, and to give a couple of nudges, and
Mm.
just to say, go and fly, and I'm here to support you, and maybe give a little nudge here or there, but to say you're going to fly and you're going to do something amazing that's even bigger and better than what you imagined. And then when you come to that moment, um, I'm going to use the metaphor of sitting on the porch in the rocking chair, and you're looking back over your life in whatever format that occurs for someone, that you're going to smile, and you're not going to be filled with regret, and that you're going to be so happy that the steps that you've left behind are something beautiful for someone else to follow.
Yeah. We don't want the I should have, I could have, I would have.
Right.
We want
Yeah.
I did.
Yes.
I am. I
I
will.
did. I am. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I know that for some people in life, they may have taken a beating. Not
Mm-hmm.
everybody's coming from success, and of course, a lot of people may want to restart careers and things. And my advice is do it from the heart and the passion. If you are needing it to sustain you, obviously you've got to make sure that the money there does sustain you, but don't do it to get rich. Because
Right.
if you're looking, oh, I'm going to do this, it's going to make me rich, it's not a passion. Again, you're back to being money is my king, which we
Mm-hmm.
know soul and money have a totally different instrument altogether, different orchestra altogether.
Mm.
It's nothing wrong with making money. And if you're making money for something you're doing that is a great service and has passion behind it, make as much as you want.
Yeah.
What other opportunities are you going to seed for others along the way with all
Exactly.
that money? But if you're getting into something because, oh, I can make a lot of money doing that, then no, that's not the heart and passion we're looking for, is it? Because it's, again, a misconceived idea. Being
Mm.
rich is not the happiness. You can never buy it. You can earn
Mm.
it. You
Yes.
you know you can work for it, but and happiness comes, I think the biggest happiness comes, as far as I'm concerned, is when you put a smile on somebody else's face.
Yeah. Yeah. I I love what you just said, and it brings to mind one of the younger clients. I work with a fair number of young people as my gift to the universe.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a fair number of young people who are just getting started. Typically last part of university, maybe just beyond university, and they're trying to find their way into the world. And one of the young women that I've had the honor to work with. Graduated with a degree that definitely points in the direction of earning money, and was not what her soul wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And talking to her the very first time, I said, there's need and there's want, and I want you to explore, what does want look like for you? And just giving that small little, I felt like I had only cracked the door, and for
Yeah.
her it just popped the door wide
Right.
open, and
Yes.
and she said, I want this particular other thing.
Right.
And I said, well, then how can you do that?
Mm-hmm.
What ways can you put that into place? And she's like, oh, but I need to do this, I need to do this. And yes, needs are important. You do need to be able to sustain yourself, as you mentioned. But how can you add your want to that? How can you
Mm-hmm.
add the joy to your life in maybe small ways now that builds for
Yes.
you? How you can do that in the future and be able to see that as your big roaring fire instead of just this small side flame for you
Yeah.
right now. Because when you're just getting started, you do have to make some pretty difficult decisions,
Yes.
especially if your degree that you graduated with is not necessarily what your heart and soul
Mm-hmm.
was pointing you towards. And I think that moment for me was a shining moment, just
Mm-hmm.
to see her have the opportunity to acknowledge that life could be more than what she had been looking at. Just for her, it was, I can see this vast desert that I have to cross,
Right.
and to give her some trees, to give her some
Mm-hmm.
flowers, to give her some beautiful things along the way. And what that will look like for her, I don't know. But all I know is I was able to at least give her that vision that it was possible to not just have a desert.
It was
And
a
for
permission,
me, yes,
right? And
yes,
we as human beings keep wanting permission. Is it okay to dream?
yeah,
Is it
yeah,
okay to want this? You
yes,
know, this is going to be, so far feel so many people counter me, ba, 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 but this is what I really want. Is it all right to want it? And I
yeah,
think to deny what you want
mm,
um, is denying your gift,
yes,
which is truly your purpose. And yes,
yes,
no, you can't always jump right into it. You may have to merge yourself into it, but
mm-hmm,
do something. Don't
mm-hmm,
deny it, right?
right, yeah, yeah. It just says to me, a beautiful experience, working with the younger people, to be able to see that with just a couple of giving permissions, of knowing someone believes in you, of, obviously I do add some technical skills
Right.
to some of them, of body language and some neurochemistry things that they can do to help them handle public speaking and
Yes.
interviews and things like that more successfully. But in addition to that, just having that permission to say, I can demonstrate for the world my whole self,
Mm.
not just this one little facet, that I'm not just a resume. I'm not
Right.
just a LinkedIn profile. I'm not just
Yes.
a little picture, that I am more than that. And I can show the world that, and that the world actually wants and
Oh,
needs that.
yes. Oh, yes.
We
Yeah.
need people to be their whole selves
We
and not
want the
just little slivers.
authenticity.
Yes.
Right? I will, when people get sent to me, I look at the sites, I look at the content, and then I have a chat with them, generally
Yeah.
before I interview. And
Mhm.
if I see there's a disconnect from, their presentation of self and from self, it's like somebody else has done your site or whatever, and they
Yes.
haven't done it in your light, right? And
Yes.
it's like, as Popeye says, I am what I am. I'm not
Mhm.
everybody's cup of tea. I'm people's strong cup of coffee. Right? You either like what I have to say, what our messages here in self-discovery media, you like where our philosophy is, and if you do, then you come to us, and if you don't, then you go somewhere else. That's all there
Mhm.
is to it. But
Yeah.
being authentic in who you are is imperative, I think, today. We don't want the wool pulled over our eyes. It's been pulled over our eyes for so long now. We want to know that the person in front of us is being authentic. They're doing it because they really care.
Yes.
They're doing it because this is a passion, the conviction.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now we really feel not only can we do business with each other, but we could also build a relationship, even if it's just a business relationship, where you can
Yeah.
call each other's friends. And that's really what we want,
Oh,
isn't it?
yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's so important. And I'm just now laughing at myself because, of course, another quote has come to mind. It is, the comment or the quote that says, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yes.
And
Oh,
and
I
that is
like that. Yeah.
absolutely true. I
Yeah.
can tell you that from both sides of my career at the moment. In the hospital setting, people don't care that I'm a specialist. People don't care that I have a great deal of knowledge about a certain
Right.
facet of their health. They don't care about that at all until they know that I actually care about them, their
Yes.
family member, that
Mm,
I understand that this person laying in the hospital bed is important to them,
right.
and they are scared and they are terrified and they want what's best for them and they really want them to be better.
Yeah.
And until they can sense that I care about that as well, I can talk until I fall over.
Mm,
I'm just wasting oxygen,
yes.
until I can say to them, I know that you love them and I know that you want what's best for them, and that's why you're upset right now, and I respect that. That opens so many doors for me to show that I care, and then we can talk. Then we can have an interchange of information from both sides, because they know far more about the person I'm ever
Yeah.
going to know from reading a simple chart.
Right.
Just like someone presenting for an interview,
Hmm.
a resume doesn't give
Yeah.
the whole picture. Same thing with the chart. And I think that that's so important on both sides, for my clients to know that I care about whether or not they're successful, and I care what that looks like for them.
Yes.
Not just, oh, I can write you down as, you're another one of my clients. That's
Right.
not the
No.
important bit for me.
No. And
It's,
you
are they
know those
successful?
people because
Mm,
they're driven about how many people they can get in their repertoire,
yes,
and the next one, and you can
yes,
see, because it's while they're dealing with you, they're looking elsewhere, and
yes.
you know that there isn't that connection. I'm just going back to the health thing. Is
Mm,
um, I was over this weekend with my son, and I have an illness that is ongoing and will be ongoing. It's something that can be managed, it can't be fixed. And I have good days and bad days, and I was happening to have a
mhm,
bad day. And my son is coming up, you need to do this, Mum, you need to do that, you need to do this. We have the same issue every time. And eventually I said to him, Tyler, my darling, you've got to stop trying to fix me. I'm
mm,
not fixable. But however, a hug will
mm,
be so healing. Just
mm,
simply when you see me in that kind of pain, taking me in your arms and loving me is going to be
mm.
the biggest, best of medicine that I could possibly have. And that's where it goes back to that caring, is that, you know, when somebody's watching one of their loved ones, they want to fix them. Can you fix them? Right? And sometimes it's just simply pour the love in them. Pour the love in them. I'm there for you. I love you. I believe in you. Whatever the journey is ahead of you, don't be afraid. We're there for you. Is because there's a sense of responsibility when somebody's, I want to fix you, with it. Oh, if they can't fix me, so now I feel guilty, they can't fix me. And that adds a bigger burden. Right, to the patient. So I think it's really important that just sometimes love is enough.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, you know, to use coaching terminology, sometimes just having that space to be, and having someone say, it's okay. You can be in this space. You can be whoever you need to be right now in this space that I am holding for you and supporting you in. I don't think I had previously in my mind qualified that as love, but now I think it is.
Yes. It's a loving vibration. Right. And that's the thing, you know, caregivers for the highest percentage go into the industry, and not because they love the 12-hour shifts, you know, the lack of pay, and, you know, all the other stuff that goes along with it. They do it because they care. You know, and that caring is a vibration that comes from a place of love.
Yes. I think it's, I've always attached myself to the idea that there's a reason that in the healthcare field, that's why it's named that. And for my particular profession, I fit under the terminology of healthcare provider. Is that is what I'm supposed to provide, is care in the health setting. And if I can't do that, then I need to step away and I need to do something else.
Right, exactly. So you bring that same ingredient into the passion of igniting people's dreams and showing them how they can get there. And I think the first step is for people to recognize, what is that dream? You're looking at that cloud so far above, but what is it? Can you articulate it? Right. And then if you had it in your hand, what would you do with it? And then understanding what you can do with it. Well, now what are you going to do? Reach up, grab it, let's go. Right. But for some people, it's just like, it's so far out there. Oh, it's just a dream. But why can't you hold that dream in your hand and go, okay, dream, let's get going?
Let's make it concrete. Let's make it real.
That's what a dream is waiting for.
Yes, exactly. I have found it helpful to give people the concept of being able to create a stronger sense of connection to their future self. By saying, you know, sometimes we are so instant gratification oriented. You know, everything is right now. You know, how am I feeling right now? What am I doing today? You know, all of those kinds of things. And we have trouble thinking about, how do the small decisions that I'm making today impact my future self? And so to talk about that, to give that future self sort of a shell or a framework that you can attach to, sometimes makes it very helpful for both patients and clients to say, to give a health point of view, to say, okay, what is the one thing I can do, one small thing that I can do today that will make my future self a healthier person? What is the thing that my future self will have wanted me to do today? And it can be something as simple as, I'm going to park 2 parking stalls further away from the grocery store. That's a gift I'm giving someone else who's maybe running short on time, maybe, you know, is having difficulty walking, those kinds of things. And I'm going to park just 2 stalls, just 2 further stalls away, and that will give me maybe 10 extra steps. Does that feel like a big thing? But will your future self add it up over time? All those 10 extra steps makes you healthier, makes you stronger, makes you less likely to have injuries. Will my future self thank me for that? Oh, absolutely. You know, will my future self thank me for not going shopping today when I'm doing retail therapy because I'm upset about something? You know, instead, can I go for a walk? Can I listen to a meditation app? Should I maybe think about that TED Talk I've been wanting to watch that maybe will inspire my soul? You know, doing things, replacing maybe something that's not so good for your future self, and saying, yeah, I know that instant gratification, I want to sit here and eat a whole entire gallon of ice cream, but will myself in about 20 minutes regret that decision? Oh, yes. Yes, exactly, like that. You know, to attach to
Yes.
attach reality to our future selves sometimes can help people bring that dream down and say, what would my future self, who has achieved that dream, want me to do today so that it doesn't put it off further
Right.
and make it harder for me to reach? Sometimes that can really help bring that cloud down where you can actually see it up close. Maybe you can't really touch it and play with it yet, but it says, what's the one thing I can do today that will bring that one step closer, so that, again, once I've achieved it, look back and go, look what I did.
Yes.
And I can't imagine how I got here, but here I am, which is amazing.
We're always telling people to live in the present. The gift of the present is in the now.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always saying, what you seed in the present is what will grow tomorrow.
Yes.
So even if you're in harvest time, make sure you're always seeding.
Yes.
Because the seeding is the positive thoughts. The seeding is the believing. The seeding is those extra 10 steps. And all of those seeds will grow over a period of time. It's not a question of get out there and throw a whole load of seeds out in the farm and then just pray the weather works, It might be just one step at a time. Again, with starting this network, because June will be 6 years of self-discovery media. And it's been 3 different names, and it's evolved quite considerably because I started off one way. Oh, that's not working. Let's try this. Okay, now that needs to be more refined. Let's try that. And as things grow, you go, okay, I like this. We can seed more of that. That's not really growing very well. The weeds have got it, and I'll weed that out and put some other seeds in there. So you don't need to know your end. All you need to know is your beginning. And the willingness to take it literally each day and understand whatever you're harvesting, you reseed. What works, you water. What doesn't work, don't go, oh, I'm a failure, it didn't work. No, that simply didn't work. Try a different ingredient, right? And be persistent, I think. That tenacity to be persistent. It's not going to happen overnight.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And that being, there's a lot of, talk more recently about fail forward. It's okay. It's okay to fall on your face and trip and fall down. It's what's important is to get back up and say, okay, so that didn't work. What can I learn from that? Rather than flogging yourself every step of the way.
Right.
What can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And that's another thing that I work on with people that I am honored to be sharing their journey is to say, let's take some of that self-talk that you're doing and take it out of the category of flogging yourself as you take a step, and maybe put in there, how can you honor what you do and all the struggles that you have already overcome, instead of looking at that one tiny thing. Our brain's really good at picking out the one tiny thing that we've done wrong out of all the amazing things that we've done, and just focusing on it and ruminating on it and marinating in it, and to say, you know what, maybe let's stop that and say, yes, I didn't do that as well as I think I could have, but what can I learn from it? What can I do differently for the future so that I'm not beating my soul up and literally knocking myself back? How can I go forward from here? Which I think is so important.
Imagine if Einstein had given up at the first light bulb.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, where would our light be? And that we've got to understand that the failure, I believe, is when you're not willing to try or you give up. When things go wrong, I don't consider that a failure, just a lesson learned. Right? That's how not to do it. Right? So now you go and branch off and go and discover other ways you can do it. And you might try several ways until you find, this is the formula. Right? Now I'm on the right track.
Exactly.
But you've got to find your rails to get on the right track.
Well, yes, and absolutely too. I like to bake, so several of my clients, if they hear this, they will laugh because I do use baking terminology from time to time. You're not going to know what your favorite kind of cake is until you try different kinds. And you sample them, and you eat that one and you go, oh, it's way too sweet, and you eat another one and you think, oh, it's too dry, I don't like the texture of it, and then you try another one and you think, oh, this is what heaven tastes like.
Yes, exactly. This is the recipe.
This is the recipe I am going to use forever in various iterations, because this one I love.
But as you said, various iterations. It could be a basic recipe but you know you
Mm-hmm.
can't just churn out the one cake. But
No.
what you can do is
Mm.
take the same formula and try it in
Yes.
other ways in
Yes.
order to branch out, right?
Oh, yes. Yes. And add a little, more cinnamon this time, or a
Yeah.
little, cardamom next time, or
Chocolate. What's a cake without chocolate?
well, yes, that was obvious, Sarah. I mean, that was gone without saying.
Yes, I do love my chocolate, but there again, look at the various types of chocolate there are. You know, there's the white chocolate, there's creamy
Yes.
chocolate, there's dark chocolate, and there's chocolate coated things and this or that. Again, it's
Mm,
all chocolate, but it's all different types of recipes and also for different tastes at different times. So I think also
absolutely.
it's also when people have a dream and things, yes, I want to do this. No, it's got to be done that way. Remember to be flexible. Remember to
Yes.
try out different formulas, different recipes, because there is no one track. I know Kentucky Chicken did it, one flavor, but then other ingredients came into being, and
Yes.
we've got to realize that if we're looking at something that we want to pursue, that we're trying to make a business out of it, is who is our clientele, who are we
Mm,
serving, and what from the main core can we deviate and still give them the same formula but be able to give them a variety. So
oh,
I
absolutely.
think rigidity is a killer in any business, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Well, and the interesting thing is to recognize that both from who our clientele is and who we are,
Mm,
those are two moving pieces. And yes,
yes.
your core, your values, those remain the same, but how you emanate to the world, what things you've been marinating in, how I approach a coaching session if I've spent an hour watching TED Talks prior to it is probably going to be a little different than if I've
Yes.
talked to my most negative friends.
Yeah.
And so
Dum,
my
dum,
mindset, yes, my
dum.
mindset's probably going to be a lot more self-limiting in the second
Yes.
case. Um, so thinking about the things that each of us marinate in and the flavors we take on as we go along in the path, our essence in the center is still the same, but how we reflect that out to the
Yeah.
world is going to be different based on, am I tired? Am I,
Mm,
super excited because I
yeah.
just got great news?
Yeah.
Or, what kinds of things are we, putting out? And the same thing for our clients. And sometimes that means the specific kinds of clients that you will want to work with at a given moment may change
Yes.
because your needs and their needs are fitting together
Right.
differently. And I think it's beautiful to recognize that and not just keep doing the same thing just because, well, it worked before.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No. But I think it's also understanding your wavelength, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a high pitch or a down low. It's this is my parameter. And we're going to get a lot of information in that baseline there. And you do have some people that are very rah 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 about their business, and you can
Mm-hmm.
only sustain that kind of energy for a certain amount of time. You as a person, but also your clientele can only sustain that kind of energy. It burns out. So it's kind of, what kind of energy are you wanting to give in your service, and can
Mm-hmm.
you actually sustain that energy in a productive way, that your clientele is going to go away feeling energized and not
Yeah.
fried.
Yes. Lit up, but not burned.
Yes.
Yeah.
A nice little amber not coming out in flames.
That's right. That's right. Yes, exactly. Exactly. Little creme brulee, not scorching. Yes, exactly. No, and it's so important. I think it's so important to not overwhelm those,
Mm.
and for me, it's having to sometimes hold myself in
Yeah.
check of, I can see the potential. I can
Yes.
see
Yes.
six steps ahead.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is that I have to keep in mind is sometimes the 6 steps that I see ahead aren't the ones that they end up taking, and what mine would have been was actually less than what they achieved.
Right.
And so
Right.
not coming in with the rigidity that you spoke
Yes.
from, to not say, this is the vision I have for you, but to just leave it open for, what
Right.
is it going to look like, what's it going to develop into. And yes, we nudge towards something bigger, but what shape that takes doesn't have to be my shape.
No.
It
Yeah,
can be
because you
something
can
that
see it.
is
I mean,
bigger.
you can. I think it's like you're giving them a canvas, and you've given
Mm,
them an outline of what the possibilities are, but
yes.
they've got to pick up the brush and fill it in.
Yes.
right? Because they're the ones taking
Yes.
the journey.
Yes.
As a reader, when I used to read for my people, I would say I'm pretty well just a psychic map reader. I could read what possibilities were ahead of you, and
Mm.
what paths might be negative, what paths might be positive for you, but ultimately you have the one that has to decide which you're going to take. All I'm
Yes.
doing is giving you a map of possibilities. Whether
Yes.
those possibilities are met or not is a question of your action. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's, even as a coach, that's what we do, isn't it? We show people the possibilities. We show what's inside of them, that they can meet those possibilities.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not walking for them. They've got to do that. All you're there is just giving them the ingredients to put in their backpack.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And what kind of cake they decide to make with that, that's up to them.
Now, what cake will sustain the journey?
Oh, yes. Very important.
Oh, am I
Mustn't
going to be
forget the
walking to
frosting.
an oven so I can make another one? Yes. I think the other important thing is to also understand that your intent of the way, when you initially look at a dream and it comes down, is again back to that rigidity of, don't just like, I've always dreamt this.
Mm-hmm.
But now, once you've actually got that dream in your hand and you're starting to take those steps and say, you know what? This is the part of the dream that I know I can take somewhere. This other part was just simply the dream. And don't
Yeah.
think that just because, well, I dreamt this, so I must have to go this path. No, sometimes that dream is the metaphor, or has just got one ingredient in it for you to
Mm-hmm.
take, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's,
Yes.
be open to receive whatever it is that's going to connect with you, and don't dictate how it
Yes.
should connect.
Oh, absolutely. And to recognize that maybe that dream was just a stretch dream.
Mm-hmm,
It's
mm-hmm.
what expanded your soul out to that
Yes.
next level
Woke
to
you up.
like you open
Yes.
to something that you couldn't even see past the one
Right.
cloud to
Yeah.
something that's even bigger and brighter and more amazing.
Yes, I never thought I
Yeah.
was going to be a podcaster. Never.
And look at you
That never
now.
came on my agenda until somebody offered it to me. And that's the thing, being open. It means, somebody offers something to you, it's you don't know until you try, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, do you feel you can really, even if you don't know what you're doing, because that's been basically my whole career. Oh, I don't know I can do that. Let's try it. Find out. Flat on my face. No, maybe I can't. But it's, again, we don't know what we've got inside of us. But I mean,
Yes.
when you're going to go and try, there's a certain amount of ingredient you've got to have when you bring it to the table, right? But it's, I find human beings sell themselves so short. Again, it goes back to
Mm.
that society's dictation and expectation of what we should be, and what we've
Mm.
been told all our lives, we should be. And really, when we look inside of ourselves and think, but why is this passion so strong? Surely this is something I can do.
Yeah.
And, be willing to open up that light and just explore and see for ourselves. We really realize that we're quite extraordinary, and we have
Mm.
so many abilities if we're only willing to open that up and give ourselves permission.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I will say, just from my last two steps that I've taken career-wise, when I went, well, just going into grad school, I had no idea what I was going to do. My husband just kept saying, you keep getting bored. You need to do something so that you don't keep getting bored. Okay, okay. So, took all of those lovely tests to describe colors of rainbows, and I don't know what else those tests are called, but speech pathology was one of the things that popped up, and I had no idea it even existed on our planet. No clue. And so to look into that and say, oh, I think I could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting into graduate school, and, we had to go through a various number of placements, and one of them was a medical placement. And I was terrified. I can't even watch medical shows on television prior to that point. I was terrified. I thought, oh, I'm going to pass out. It's going to be
Yes, yeah.
awful. And out of, my fairly small cohort of about 30 people, everyone, we left for the summer to go to our medical placements, and everyone said, oh, come at the end of the summer, Elaine's going to come back and she's going to rush to working with, non-medical settings. And I came back, and I'm one of two out of the 30 people that have consistently worked in the medical setting. And I never would have known that I could do that. And the things that I have been in the room when they've been happening, and being able to stay calm, I never could have seen myself do that.
No.
That's not something that I even could have imagined. And to see how that draws forward into coaching. And of course, I didn't know coaching existed either.
Right.
And when I learned of it, going, oh, that's a new window. That looks
Yes.
exciting. I think I could do that. And
Yeah.
being willing to try it and having amazing experiences of working with beautiful people who have now gone on to do incredible things in their life, and just thinking I was a small part of that. You know, I'm
Right.
not going to take credit for it,
No.
obviously, but just being a small part of
You're
it.
the igniter. You set the
Yeah.
flame going, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
or nudge it, you know,
Yes.
give a new direction. Yeah,
Yes.
it just, to me, that has been so beautiful and so amazing, and something that my soul, 20 years ago would never have said.
Right.
What are you gonna be doing in 20 years?
Mm.
I probably would have imagined a much smaller cloud then.
Yeah. Yeah, when people say, what's your 5-year plan? I said, no, just hopefully I can get up every morning. It's doing something I love, but for me, it's never more than a few months, because I've learned whatever my good intentions are or where I think I need to go, the universe will always, either put a stop or redirect me into where I have to go. And this is when a lot of bombardment comes at me. No, Sarah, you should. And you've got all this chatter into it. And then it's like, what's the heart and soul say? And the heart and soul never lies. This is my purpose. This is my truth. This is the track I need to be on, and to stick with it. And then all it is then what knowledge do you need to keep going on this track? And I think that's something is very important, is that heart and soul. It will always guide you right. The head doesn't always know why, but that will be revealed as you go, right? Don't deny the heart and the soul, because that's your truth.
Yes. Yes, and being willing to follow your heart, even though you might not be able to see it. There are people for whom I need to see the end. I need to see the end goal. Well, we can kind of establish a framework. What's your really big goal? What are we aiming for? But how we get there, and what it takes to take all of those steps, and are we going to bob and weave through the trees as we go along, and how fast or how slow? That's not the important part. It's being able to say, I'm going to stick with it, even though I can't entirely see how I get from here to the top of Mount Everest, how I get from here to my cloud. And maybe then when we get there, we discovered the cloud was too small, and we're going to do something even bigger.
What's this little pimple of a Mountain Everest?
What is this? What does this Everest you speak of? Nothing.
Well, that's the thing, is that when we're willing to take that journey, again, is the people I've interviewed, it's like they all say, I never knew I could. I never knew I would. But where I am, no matter how hard it has been to get here, I am where I'm meant to be, doing what I'm meant to be doing. And, just because you're stepping into the passion, that doesn't mean that it's all going to be a bed of roses and kumbaya and everything's going to fall into place. What it does mean is that you're in discovery of your purpose, of your instrument. You've still got to learn to play that instrument. And you've still got to know who is your audience that you're playing for. I'm a huge fan of, these talent shows like The Voice and AGT and a few others. I love seeing people who are not sure whether they've got something, and they get out there and then they discover the audience like me, and I've got a voice, or I've got a talent, and then they're pushed to go even further and to really believe in themselves, and you just see them blossom and and just become, and it's just so beautiful to see, because suddenly they've stepped into self, and it's just so wonderful to see that full bloom of who they are, and the joy that they bring around to people. We love cheering on somebody. Right? It's exciting for us, and to see them succeed. And it's something that lifts up and go, you know what? I've been putting something off. Maybe I need to be doing something.
Yes, it's very motivating. It's very motivating. That's one of the things that I have chosen to be very transparent with my clients, not oversharing or anything, but just to share with them where I am in my journey and the things that I'm doing that frighten me and that scare me, and that I'm doing them anyway. And I, of course, use the terminology that, I don't want to just talk the talk with you. I don't want to speak to you from my ivory tower as the, fabulous coach from above. Yes, exactly. I don't want the weird little voice to come floating down upon you. That I want to be someone who says, maybe your trench, maybe the thing that you're going through isn't my trench, but I'm like a couple parallels over from you, and I'm in my own trench, and I'm doing the things
Yes.
that scare me, that frighten me,
Yeah.
that push me forward. And I think that's important, because I know that when I see someone taking a step that's scary, that inspires me. So why would I hold that back from my clients to say, she's in this too. She can understand what I'm going through, not exactly, because I'm not them and they're
Right.
not me, but that I'm in the trenches too. I'm doing things that scare me too, because I think that helps us to be able to take that journey together more truthfully and honestly and transparently and
Yeah.
authentically, instead of going, oh yes, you're over there and I'm over here with all of my certifications and my
Yes.
degrees, and I'm fabulous and I've got it all together. I don't think that's helpful.
I also don't think it's real.
No.
It's you're doing, you're not being. If
Yeah.
that's the way you're approaching things, we're
Yeah.
not here to just do. We're here to be, and then we understand what it is we're here to do.
Yes.
But coming from our own journey, based back to your cooking analogy, you're in your trench creating your own recipe. And what
Mm-hmm.
you can do is share ingredients. You can share
Yeah.
tips, but somebody else is going to create their own cake. And their
Yeah.
cake is it's not wrong or bad. It's just their cake. And somebody else is going to enjoy it. And what we do is we share. And
Mm-hmm.
I personally would far rather listen to somebody who is in the process or has made the journey than those
Mm-hmm.
that have been taught from a manual and have never lived
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yes.
because I want people
Yes.
who actually understand what the trenches are like.
Yes.
And, these are the obstacles you're going to come across. These are the
Yeah.
things you're going to have to avoid. But however, if you do a step to the right and a step to the left, and because it's real.
Yes. 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 By the way, there's no way to get through this part of the trench without falling in the mud puddle. However,
Right.
if you reach up to the right, there's a branch there that you can pull yourself up
Yes.
on.
I'm just thinking, just giving yourself a mud facial,
Yeah,
It's
it's lovely. Your skin will look fabulous, because that particular mud puddle, it has healing properties.
Exactly. Always look to the positive. And, I know that there's times that negative comes along and that despair comes along and you feel blocked. And you know what? Have a damn good cry. Have a tantrum. Kick
Mm,
and scream. Get it out of you. And then take a deep breath. Come back the next day and go, okay, all right, now what?
yeah.
All right? I certainly didn't like where I got to. Where's the way out and where's the way forward?
Yeah. I described to someone that I'm friends with, I described that I I think of crying as a way, as your soul's way of washing the windows so that you can see
Mm-hmm.
through easier.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that it's wrong. It's not that it's bad. You definitely don't need to do it all the time.
No.
You can see through it better if it's not
Yes.
wet. But
Yes.
every once in a while, you just need to let the windows get washed, and
Yeah.
then you can see clear and move forward easier.
Yeah.
So
And it just gets rid of a lot of emotion, a lot of
yeah.
tension, and it's just like a damn good massage. Ah, I feel better.
Oh yes.
And you're going to go through all sorts of emotions, young or old. I mean, you work with people young as your passion, your pro bono, but you
Mm-hmm.
work with older people as well,
Mm-hmm.
that are in maybe a third, fourth, fifth career, or maybe,
Mm-hmm.
at home parenting, then think getting back into the workforce, wanting to do something on their own, or maybe a mum that's, wanting to stay at home and have her own work around the kids. You don't have any age barrier, do you? It's just all those that have got that cloud that they're wanting to ignite.
Yeah. Yeah. That for me, I would say, is the most important thing, is who the person is and what they want and what they're willing to do to get it,
Mm-hmm.
with my help.
Yeah.
And that's what's most important to me. I don't care about age. I don't care about where you're from. It's super helpful if we both speak the same language. I'm trying desperately to learn as many as possible, but English still is my best.
Yes.
So that is somewhat of a barrier there.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, no, I have had the incredible honor to work with so many different ages, and it doesn't matter to me, genders and cultures. To me, it's a beautiful thing to learn. How can I be the best help that maybe you need right now, if I can't?
Yeah.
And I'm not that for everybody, and
No.
then I recognize, I refer
Right,
to an
exactly,
amazing
which you
network that I
definitely
have.
do, yes. And you're certainly somebody I would go to, because I need somebody who understands the caringness. You know, I need somebody that does ride that caring wave. You're not a pitch person. You're not a crash person. You know, not a rah-rah person, which is something in my arena is something I would look for, because that same caregiving you give to your patients, you're giving to your coaching, and it's, you really do care about their success. You really do care about their discovering their dream and getting there, but you're not pushy. You're there to help people discover who they are, and you've got the patience because of that caringness to let them unravel and see themselves, even if it's only one page at a time in their book. And that, I think, is very important. You know, if you need that kind of rah-rah energy, there are people out there. If you need somebody that is really caring, that's going to take the steps with you and be patient with you, then you're the person to go to.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say.
I can feel that vibe.
It's definitely something that I try to be very careful who I choose to work with, because it is so important to me to have their journey be something that I can care about. Because if someone comes and says, I want to whine on the side and I want to make money, I'm not your coach.
No.
And I will find someone who will take your money and be happy to hear you whine. But I can't do that for you.
No. Exactly. Yes. You know, a glass of wine cheering you on. Yes, but wine, no.
Yeah. No.
And that's something that's very, very important. Is that, you know, yes, we all need money, roof over the head, and all of that type of thing. But if you can't serve a client, no matter what your career is, and you do take someone's money and they're not the kind of client that you can connect with, back to that relationship, you've got to have a relationship with your client. You know, you've got to care about them. You've got to feel that they're a friend, even if it's only a business friend. There has to be that connection. Otherwise, how can you understand what they need? How can you guide them forward? You know, and so if you haven't, and it's also not about gathering as many clients as you can. And, you know, like when you go online to solve something and they're serving so many people and you're there an hour later waiting for your turn again. Nobody wants that. We want to know that there's undivided attention when we're with you. Right? And that is what's really, really important. And I know that you definitely give that, as well as you're a huge cheerleader and advocate for pushing people on, which is wonderful. So when, how do people find you? What do you offer? What's your steps? Give everything that you offer to people so they know, if they, having listened to this, that they know that they're a fit to reach out.
Wow, that's a very big question. So I think to touch on what I think you were starting to ask is, I think LinkedIn is probably the best place to get a hold of me, and I'm sure you'll put a link to that. But
yes,
otherwise,
but do, for the people who are only audio, do give your URL as well.
Okay, so it's oh dear, LinkedIn, and then the / to it.
Yes.
If you go to
well,
the
and
search
if you
window
just
on
put
LinkedIn,
LinkedIn and what is your name, right?
And then just Elaine Jacques, nothing else. There's no letters or numbers, anything. It's just Elaine Jacques all smushed together. And then, of
please
course,
spell Jacques for people.
Oh yes, for people who have not been inflicted with the French spelling that came with my wedding ring. So it's ELAINE, and then no space, and JACQUES as in Samuel. So French people have a lot of letters that they like to put because it's very, very beautiful, but you don't say them. So that's how you find me online. And I like to say, when you see the smile and the red hair, you'll know you found me.
Yes, definitely.
So for the people on audio, yes, I do have long red hair. So that's probably the easiest way to find me. The tagline that I use on LinkedIn that is very meaningful to me is that I have you +1% today. And it's about being ready to take your next step towards your next new amazing self. So again, building on what you have already done. And the two I guess areas that I do a lot of coaching in is, you touched on it earlier, I do a lot of pro bono coaching for young people who are just getting into the workforce. It's something that I feel is important to give back. And of course, you know, typically they can't afford coaching at that point. So I give them help with their resume, their LinkedIn profile, and also especially how can they do better in interviews? How can they present their true authentic selves and maybe not quite experience so many mud puddles as they do it?
Yes.
Ways to answer the common questions and those kinds of things, and to present themselves well using the neurochemistry and the neuroscience behind how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an area that I'm very passionate about, and I've done a fair amount of work in, and I really enjoy, because seeing them go on to be successful and taking their next steps into their careers, and maybe for some of them that's a career that's just the placeholder while they explore how to bring in the thing that they're really passionate about. That's also rewarding, because they're being able to be independent and on their own and stand on their own 2 feet and move forward while they're still bringing in, what is that want, what is that dream, what is that passion, what does that look like for them, and how can they take steps while still being able to eat and have a place to sleep, and finding a way to blend those 2 things together. That's been very, very exciting for me to see, just to see the little lights, and I like to imagine that the world can be a very dark and scary place, and when you light a candle here and you light a candle here and you light a candle here and you look out over that and you see all those candles, and know that going forward those candles are going to light other candles. And for me, that's one of my legacies that I'm leaving behind.
And of course, for the younger people, what you're giving them is something that they can take into every aspect of their lives, no matter when. And so you're giving them a baseline of knowledge that
Yes.
they can add their own ingredients to as they
Yes.
grow, but it's that base
Yes.
ingredient of the
Yes.
cake. So
Yes.
no matter what cakes they're making down the road, they know the basic common denominator ingredients that they can bring into everything. So that really is
Yes.
something, a really good, strong foundation.
Yes. Absolutely. So from that side of it is more of helping them have a solid foundation from which to spring forward
Yeah.
and do the amazing things that they're going to do. And then sort of a little bit later on in life, sort of mid to late career, helping people go forward from that place of, I feel pretty solid of where I've gotten to, but now my soul is starting to yearn for, what do I want to leave behind? What is that legacy? What is that greater impact that I want to leave for people? And to be able to help create that vision with them of, what does that look like for them? What is it? Do you want to have a nonprofit foundation that gives scholarships to kids? Or do you want to build a building somewhere that will house something that's beautiful and amazing and people can come see it? What that looks like for people, I don't care, as long as what it does is it lights up your soul, and it helps you to feel like, even when I'm no longer present in a physical form on this planet, that my spirit lives on, that my light shines forward and helps light the way for other people to come behind me, and maybe not have to spend so much time in the mud puddle either.
Yes.
that maybe we can build a bridge over that mud puddle and make
Right.
it a better place for people who come behind us. And that, of course, has a lot of rewards for me as well. Being able to see someone go forward from the amazing life that they have already created, and to create something even bigger and better, and to
You've had a
fulfill
lot of,
their soul.
exactly, and there's a lot of people that are very well accomplished, in their careers, and they've made a lot of money, and now they're retiring. And it's like, well, I'm not ready to kind of call it quits yet,
Yeah.
but I want to do something that's more meaningful. And, this is
Mm-hmm.
a very honorable time to take some of that money and seed it and ignite it into something else that will grow, that will benefit other people.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm a firm believer, the more we invest in people,
Mm.
I have a series on foster children with the forgotten children right now, far too many forgotten children. And if we spent as much time and money on the children, on seeding their opportunities, on the love and the caring that they need,
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't have so much money being spent on institutions and mental problems and violence and everything else down the road. So the
Yes.
old stitch in time. And,
Yes.
it's find something that you're passionate about, that you really
Yes.
believe in, and
Yes.
take some of that money, use some of your contacts, generate something that's going to be a
Mm-hmm.
benefit to that organization. And here we've got them here on Self-Discovery Media and Self-Discovery Community. That's what we're all our platforms is doing, because
Yes.
we care. And we
Yes.
believe that we need to seed the opportunities for tomorrow and
Yes.
stop being such a disposable society,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So I think we're getting there, though, aren't we? We're getting there where we're suddenly realizing that we're rape and pillaging the resources of the world, and we're disregarding the value of people. And yet, no matter how much you're in your ivory tower, you're utterly miserable. And that
Mm-hmm.
the currency of bringing joy to someone, of seeing someone benefit from your kindness or your generosity, seeing a smile, seeing somebody achieve something because you gave them an opportunity, is 1,000 times more rewarding
Yeah.
than, another $1 trillion contract. Really,
Oh,
it's,
absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
where the real
Yeah.
abundance is.
Yes. Yes. And I love what you said. And I think that is something that's going to resonate with me for a while, is, to help others create
Mm.
their miracle.
Mm.
It's That's beautiful.
There's a lovely little video on the bamboo shoot, and
Mm.
it's the movie of that they plant the seeds, and for 5 years you do not see any evidence of growth, but you have to
Mm-hmm.
water, you have to nurture in trust. And then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, that 5th year, they grow up to like 200 feet in just a matter of weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we do not see the results straight away, but we still have
Yeah.
to keep nurturing, we still have to keep watering, we still have to keep believing. And then
Yeah.
suddenly we start seeing the shoots and the
Yes.
growth and that harvest. And we know that all that love and nurturing and caring has paid off. Don't look for a quick fix. Don't do something where you want instant results. Life isn't a downloadable app. It is about your participation, your patience, your passion, and the long-term results. And that's when you really do see something that's truly well-rooted.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Life is not a downloadable app. It's so true. So
We
true,
tell people
Sara.
to live in the now, but that doesn't mean, that you pointed up for instant gratification. I want it now. No,
Yes.
what are you going to do? Did you seed yesterday in order to get it today?
Right.
Because something needs to grow for you
Yes.
to be able to harvest it today,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. And I think there's a really nice balance between living in the present, being present for each
Yes.
other, me being present in this conversation instead of, thinking about other things or whatever, but also how am I planting seeds today for what I want to be
Yeah.
tomorrow and the next day and my future self, so that I can do the amazing things that I want to do.
Yeah. Exactly, exactly. And again, it's the garden that you're growing of possibilities, of soul ignitement, of passion in others. Then it's up to them to go and seed their own gardens or their own
Yes.
fields. And the more and more we see this beautiful, passionate creativity seeded, watered, nurtured, and harvested, the more we're going to see this world on a far happier platform than we're seeing
Yes.
now. We are the problem, but we're also the solution. It's up to
Yes.
us to decide which side of the coin we want to be on.
Yes, yes, I love that. And I love reminding myself and others, let's be part of the solution.
Yes,
Because it may just be a drop in the ocean, but every drop comes together to make the ocean.
precisely, precisely. And also, it's your instrument that we need.
Yes,
It's you've picked up this violin a long time ago, and the music you're making is dreadful, but suddenly it connects and those strings become heavenly, and now you're ready to join the orchestra, really. But it's understanding how important your instrument is to the orchestra
yeah,
of life. And that
yes,
is where the solution is. When that music resonates out on that vibration and that frequency, lifting up the souls and the spirits and be so healing to all those that listen to it, there you are part of that solution. So
yes,
step into it. We as a human village need each other. And
mm,
it's not about, everybody talks about the one, becoming at one. Yeah, it is becoming part of the collective, but
mm,
bringing your ingredient to it. A pie isn't made out of one ingredient, nor is a cake,
mm,
right? It's
mm.
all those ingredients that we need in there, and you are one of those ingredients. And you could be a small ingredient, only a dash, or you could be a big ingredient. That's not the point. Your ingredient is essential. So
Yes,
step into that and be that
yes,
lovely spice and spice up the world.
that's right. That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And sometimes the little ingredient is the thing that just creates the whole finishing touch.
Yes, exactly. So for people to get hold of you, they have to go through the WordPress. Can they reach out to you in any other way?
On LinkedIn, my email is listed there as well. Because of my dual careers, calling me is sometimes doesn't allow me to be present in the conversations I'm currently having. So I don't have my phone number on LinkedIn, but I do have my email address on LinkedIn. Certainly through LinkedIn messaging or reach out to connect to me there. So.
Okay, so everything is through LinkedIn, folks, and the name again is Elaine Jacques. That's Elaine Jacques, Jacques. You put it in there, you'll find her, you'll see everything that she does. I've stolen a couple of quotes that she had up there on one of the banners, and all glory comes from daring to begin. And the other one is knowledge is learning something every day. Wisdom is letting go of something every day. Which is very important, because knowledge is knowledge until you are wise enough to know how to use it. And sometimes this knowledge just doesn't serve anymore. Have the wisdom to let it go so you can open up to some new knowledge. So good quotes there. This has been fabulous having you on here, Elaine. Thank you for being so caring. The common denominator about you is that you really do come from the heart. You really do come from caringness. And so anybody who's looking for a coach and they want to start something, but they want somebody that's going to be gentle but firm with them, somebody that really does care, and is in it because of that, seeing you ignite into that passion, into being, into becoming what you were meant to be. This is the person for you. So please reach out to Elaine Jacques on LinkedIn and have a conversation, right? You're open to having that conversation with somebody to see if they're a fit.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sara. It has been my pleasure. You are just an amazing woman, and I love the visual pictures that you paint.
We paint in every way we can, right? The canvas is our world. Exactly. Thank you very much, Levin, and really do appreciate all that you do, because as I said, you really are very supportive of other people as well. As I said, the caringness just oozes out of you. We need far more people like you in the world, where it isn't about the agenda, I'm the best coach and this and that and push, but somebody there that, is, you nudge, you don't push. Right? You encourage, you don't demand. And for a lot of people, and I'll say there's an awful lot of people that are highly sensitive in their spiritual awakening. And that spiritual awakening has made them extremely highly sensitive to what's around them and the vibrations. And having somebody that is gentle and caring in pursuing that beautiful gift that they've been given is essential, because they need that gentility in order to ignite that passion. And not just the passion, the purpose of them being here.
Yeah. Yes. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you. You are very kind.
My pleasure. You're kind. All right, folks, we've talked a lot here today about, caring for who you are, what you do, what that passion is, caring in the coaching that you'll get from Elaine, caring about what your ingredient is to the world. And, caringness, I think, is the common denominator here, because when we come from that heart, we ignite that purpose and we step into the beauty of everything that we are and what we can do, that's when the legacy begins. So don't be afraid. Step out. You never know what you can be or what you can do until you take that first step. And Elaine's here to help guide you all along the way. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. To hear more of these wonderful shows on selfdiscoverymedia.com, just look up our podcast genre list. You will see many shows archives there ready for listening. Don't forget to share these wonderful shows. And if you wish to be a guest or a host, or you have an organization that needs to be highlighted, contact us at info@selfdiscoverymedia.com. Bye for now.